For years, it's been the ultimate enigma, a company that defies gravity, ignites passions, and divides traders like no other. We're talking about the undisputed king of electric vehicles, the innovator of energy, and a force that has reshaped the entire industry, and that is Tesla. Today, we'll be looking at the chart to determine the key buy levels, the options market, and also the most recent news on the stock so that you are well informed. First of all, let's begin with an overall weekly chart of Tesla. As you can see here, the stock has been overall in a consolidated range over the past couple of 3 years. If you bought Tesla at the highs of around 2021, you're pretty much flat and are barely starting to make money after this intense move that we've been seeing today, when the stock is pretty much an outstanding overall 10% on the day. Now, the stock has been seeing some really heavy criticism over the past couple of years, with Elon Musk, being more involved with the overall political party, as well as investors see that he's not really focused on the company. And that's what happened during this intense dip that we saw here towards the beginning of the year of 2025, really pretty much after the election and the Department of Government Efficiency was created. At this point, we saw a sharp decline of Tesla, and we saw pretty much shareholders lose around 50% of their value if they bought at that high. And overall, the stock bounced around the April lows, and it was amazing to see that it bounced on exactly 200 EMA here on the weekly chart, showing that obviously there were some buyers interested in this name, picking it up at an important discount here. As well, the price action has been holding well above the 50 EMA over the past couple of weeks, and we've been seeing a nice upward trend here. Now, let's go back towards the daily chart here and look at it more closely. First of all, I am bullish on the stock now because the company has been seeing now some intense upside. And what I mean by this is the following. So if you look here, the swing high anchored VWAP, which kind of measures the average price of entry of the short participants, pretty much we have the swing high anchored VWAP, which is where the overall sellers came in on December 17th of 2024 and initiated this overall downward trend that we saw here on the stock. But ever since we've been above it, we've been seeing that the buyers have been defending their level. And pretty much ever since the stock is above this, it is bullish. Now, something I'd like to note here, the stock now has formed a higher high here over the past couple of days, which shows now that there's initiation towards the upside. We've been seeing a higher low, higher lows, and now a higher high here on the stock. So this shows that the stock is prone towards the upside, especially towards the price targets that we have on the stock towards the highs of around $488 and towards a price action around $580 here on the stock if there's more bullish momentum coming ahead. As well, something I want to point out here is that a new tool here, an indicator, is the fixed volume range profile, which pretty much allows us to do the following. So we can select an important high or an important low and measure from that point towards the current price action and get the levels of which there's more superiority between the buyers and sellers. So we can do that here from this date, from this high, which is very important because they initiated the downward trend and we're seeing for a potential reversal, and we put that towards now. We can see here that the buyers have been holding well above this $323 level, and I believe firmly that as long as the buyers defend that level, which they have so far, pretty much the stock is bullish. And this will allow it to see more intense upside and confluence towards the higher price targets, like I said, of $488 and towards a second price target of around $583.17. Now, I know many of you have requested an intraday strategy here for the stock, and I would like to let you guys know of a strategy that I've been finding that has been very helpful and has been having a high win rate, obviously, if there's volume behind the name. So currently what we do here is we use the post-market and pre-market action levels. Currently what we do is plot the overall high of that area and then the low of the area. And once we get that, we see if the stock does break above this area of resistance, we just enter long at this overall level. So today, for example, on September 12th, we would have entered the name here at $370, and we've been holding still the name because it's still bullish, obviously seeing an overall target toward that upside, and it would have been an overall 5% day, obviously. So what this means here is that overall there's been some supply, right, during the pre-market hours. Once that breaks during the open, it's very likely that it will be continued. The reason as to that is because individuals who went short the name will have to cover their positions, and we'll be seeing that covering, which will allow the buyers to come in more aggressively, and that's what we saw this very intense upside. Generally, when this happens, we don't tend to see the overall 50 MA be so deviated from the price action. As you can see, we are pretty much around 2% away from the price action. We haven't even been pulled back at all. But this shows the overall strong momentum. When we see this important deviation or this gap between the price action and the 50 MA or an important indicator, it just shows that there's been an intense upside and very, very intense buying here on the name. So that strategy overall has been working out, and I know many of you guys have requested that, so that's one of them. If you guys would like more of those strategies, feel free to let me know down in the comment section, and I'd be glad to break them down for you guys. Now that we've seen the charts, let's also take into consideration what the options market or the overall options flow is telling us about the name. Currently, we see here the put to call ratio, and what this simply means is that we're comparing the put volume, the bearish bets, compared to the call volume, which are the bullish bets, or expecting that the stock will go from a higher price in the future. Pretty much you can see here that the nearest expiration date is the 12th of September, and we see the call volume being intensely higher than the put volume, showing that on average the buyers are overall seeing more bullish on this name, and they are expected to continue this upside here. So we can see for the next following dates, every single date, all the way towards the 18th of September of around 2026, that is when the call volume and the put volume are going to be generally equal. We see here 2,332 call volume compared to the put volume of 2,054. But prior to these dates here, we see that the overall call volume and the put volume is very, very different. Obviously, with the call volume being higher, showing that there's more bullish upside being projected onto Tesla stock over the upcoming year. This shows that the options market is pricing in intense upside potential. So I'd be looking closely on this name over the next couple of months. As we can see here, Tesla stock rose in early trading Friday as investors suddenly appeared more optimistic about the outlook. The reason as to this is because overall, Tesla broke out of a short-term trading pattern in August, which did target a trading level near $384, said Will Tamplin, which is a senior technical analyst at Fairlead Strategies. We think that level will be reached soon since their short-term momentum is accelerating with Thursday's move. Now, something important to acknowledge here is that the fundamentals are slowly starting to add into this name here. Now, the move comes after Tesla stock added 6% on Thursday, helped in part by inline inflation data that solidified that the Fed is possibly going to cut rates. As we know, auto companies like lower rates because cars are generally financed. Shares of General Motors and Ford also rose 2.4% and 3% respectively. As you can see here, there's been a lot of upside here on the stock now. We see here overall the most recent news as well that Tesla hosted a sell-side call with their special committee of the board to discuss the recent CEO compensation proposal for Elon Musk, which they want the value of the company to be $8.5 trillion. This will overall allow the company to grow and is an incentive for the CEO to look in the best value of the shareholders and the company's growth. So I believe that this news is pretty bullish for the company. Now we just need to let the fundamentals, for example, the teledeliveries and overall fundamentals of the earnings to be positive on this name in order to be fully long. But I believe the stock has a price target towards $500. And there you have it. With Tesla seeing immense gains over the past couple of weeks, analysts are now starting to see the company as more bullish. Now, I would like to know in the comment section what your price targets or thoughts are on Tesla stock and whether CEO compensation is actually viable and a good thing for the company. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and as always, don't let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.